Can you see me?
I can.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna put this up. Here we go.
Okay. I was trying to add you on the message, but I couldn't find Ocean. I couldn't find you in, to just add you in the post.
Really? That's weird. I don't know why.
But everything is weird now.
So the hair story. You are
Okay, bye.
with
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, we're going live. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I believe we're here. Yes, we are. We're live. We're live. We are live. We're live. Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, good people. Yes, 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 yes. So, oops. All right, here we are. We are live on Facebook right now. Hey, darling.
Lord.
Lord. Lord, Lord,
Lord, Lord,
Lord. It's okay though. It's okay though.
It sure is. I'm just, all the texts are coming through. So now I have a moment to just tell people
Where to find us.
Where to find us. Yeah.
So hey everybody on Facebook, this is Omi and Angela, and you probably were looking for the hair story in the hair story event, but we're two mature sisters learning this technology thing, and it was
I like that.
it was not working for us, so we decided we're going to use our Facebook Live, but this is really not mine. It's a takeover. So I'm going to stop talking and let the takeover happen. How about that?
All right. So awesome. Thank you, Omi. Please make sure you're recording so that we will be able to have this in perpetuity.
That's right.
Thank you, all you Omi fans. I am also an Omi fan, and I've invited her to be my first guest for a new project that I have started. I had some housekeeping stuff to talk about, but well, let me just say that I do have a page that I have set up for this new project. It's called the Hair Stories Project. So please do join that community. I think that these conversations are going to get very deep. They just are, and they may stir some emotions that are unexpected, and they may require some continuing conversation. And so I set up the community as a place for us to be able to do that beyond the live events. Another thing is, please provide feedback. This is the first time that I'm doing it with this Zoom to Facebook thing, but just in general, the structure, anything that you'd like us to add. Feedback to me is a gift. It's your way of saying, I care about you enough to tell you how you can tweak. And so I welcome the feedback. I may not implement everything, but I will definitely take it under advisement. So I am Angela Fraser. I am the CEO of Headspace NC. That is the home of Rhythm Wigs, and it's also now the home of the Hair Stories Project. My work is in creating space and solutions for people whose needs and experiences are either underrepresented or under-respected. And unfortunately, that's a space that we often find Black women. And so the Hair Stories Project is just an affirmation that our hair matters to us. And the fact that some may dismiss it or say that it's just vanity or all the things, I'm not even going to give those things weight right now. But it's really my way of pushing against the idea that it's just hair. Maybe it is for everyone else, but for Black women, for real, intimate, vulnerable, beautiful reasons, it's not just hair. And so the Hair Stories Project is a way to collect those stories. It's going to be through interviews. I'm going to be hosting interviews monthly, God willing, and written narratives. People can submit audio recordings. It's just a place to hold those stories. And so it's going to be a co-creating thing that we're going to do. So I just, you guys know who this beautiful spirit is. And I'd hope to introduce her to my posse on the other page, but I'm just going to remind you of, and really tell you what Omi means to me. I don't even remember how we met. I do know that I locked you in as someone who could help me with some healing. And you held a tea and toddy event. I actually thought you were out of DC for some reason.
Because the first tea and toddies that we did was in DC.
Okay.
And then we did the one that you came to at North Star.
Right.
Right. And then I did a autumnal equinox at Weston Wine Bar, and then we did something in Kenya. So folks are like, where exactly is
you were everywhere because
I was everywhere last year. It feels like it. Yeah.
So I do remember that there were so many forces that were trying to get me to not go to your event. And I pushed against them, very proudly did that because I needed it. And it was my first time, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I knew what I was going to get. I knew that I was going to get just the love of a group of beautiful people, and I pushed myself to get there. And I went, and it was everything the way that I came and the way that I left were night and day. And so after that, I found you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we connected, and we found that we had some friends in common. And so when I launched this project, and by the way, I have a 5-minute introductory video, and I'm going to ask Omi to post it here for you, where I talk about what my hopes are for this project. I talk about how much our hair connects us across generations, across the entire diaspora. And it is uniquely ours. No matter how much appropriation happens, our hair is uniquely ours. And so I talk about that in the 5-minute introductory video. So I hope that you get a chance to see that. So I won't spend too much time on that right now. So I was stuck, I wanted to give birth to this thing, and I got stuck, and I was, Omi, I'm stuck. And she just, sometimes you just need someone to just affirm that something needs to happen, and it was given to you to do. And if you don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. And so she gave me that shot. And then just working with my sister, who's a researcher, she's a college professor, I just pushed through, and here we are. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Omi, for being here. I do want to spend just a minute more just to talk about your amazing podcast, The Black Girl's Guide to Surviving Menopause. It's both stimulating and calm. I don't know how she does that, but that's what it is. You guys know this. My people may not, but they will know. If you don't know now, you know. I just saw some stats, amazing. Her podcast is listened to across 19 countries. Her listenership went up 127%. Her followers went up 287%. So the work, Omi, that you're doing, I know that you know, because I know that you hear from folks, but it is so necessary and so vital. And I'm so glad you thought of it and you made it happen before COVID so that we have that and you push through and you are now finishing up your second season despite COVID.
Yep. Yes.
So I'm so happy to have you here. I want to first ask you, why is it not just hair for you?
Ooh. Okay. So can I take a minute to give you some
You
flowers?
can.
Can I do that? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I do want to take us back very quickly to September of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And you showed up as we were getting ready to get started.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody was seated. We had a few more seats left.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I don't know if I'm in the right place, but I hope I am. And you looked tired.
Yeah, I was tired.
And unsure.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you are absolutely in the right place. Come on in. We'll get everything settled. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And you came in. I remember you had a leather jacket on. I remember what you had on. And you came in and we found you a small group to join because we have people in little clusters of folk to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody got a ticket. You had a ticket where you
Right,
get a tea
absolutely.
or you
Yep.
can get a mulled wine. You can get a toddy.
Mhm.
It was up to you, whatever
Mhm.
your body required that evening.
Right.
And you did say to me when you were leaving, it's like, I'm glad I didn't let my mind change me being here because I wanted to be here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the beginning of us coming together and developing a sweet connection and a sweet friendship.
Mhm.
And I'm really grateful that you invited me to be a part of your inaugural kind of public conversations with Hair Story, because I do absolutely 100% believe and know that it's more than just hair. When I think about my hair story, I think about my parents who are now ancestors. I think about how when I look in the mirror in the morning, I can see both of them looking back at me, right? Because a lot of people often wonder if I color my hair or I strip my hair or, if I did peroxide in my hair or whatever. And like this right here is Mary and Bill. That, sometimes I can be a little bit of a jerk. And so one time this woman, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, was just like asking me, oh my God, what color is that in your hair? And I sent her on a wild goose chase to Beauty World. I made up a color, but I used my parents' initials. I said it's MEBBUG. Those are my parents' initials. She said,
Right, absolutely. Yes, you can.
yeah, I was in one of those where I was like, leave me alone about my hair. It has always been more than about just the way it looks.
Right.
It's been my relationship to myself as a person who identifies as a woman.
Mhm.
It's been about my relationship to myself as a Black woman. It's been about my relationship to my mother and my cousins and my aunts, like all of the ritual that was involved in my childhood around hair, preparation of hair, washing hair, manipulating hair getting ready for first day of school, hair getting ready for a wedding or a funeral or
Right.
camp, like
Yeah.
all of the preparation, like
Right.
always in some level of preparation. And then the transformation from little girl hair,
Mhm.
big girl hair, which was the transformation from chemical free to my first relaxer,
Wow.
which was called
Wow,
a
big
Kitty Kit.
deal.
You remember Kitty Kit? You remember that?
Mm-mm.
It was a brand called Kitty Kit.
Oh, the relaxer brand.
Yes.
I do. Yes.
And I begged my mother because little girl on the commercial was doing this, and I was like, I want to do that. And I was like, Mommy, please, 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 please. And I had a lot of hair, and my mother was a nurse and she worked. So she probably thought this will make her hair easier to manipulate, easier to manage.
Yep. Yep.
Our beautician's name was Miss Shropshire.
Oh, Lord.
We were living in Prince George's County, Maryland at the time. And we went to Miss Shropshire. There was no preparation. You know that there are initiations we go through with our hair.
Yeah.
Right? Because you and I both have had locks before, so we know the initiation process of like having to submit to your hair.
Yes.
But there's also ritual related to your first relaxer. And if somebody doesn't tell you, you know that your tail is on fire in that chair. So no one told me, don't scratch your head. No, they didn't tell me anything.
It's so wrong.
All I knew is that we had got that kitty kit. And we got to Miss Shropshire, honey, and we got to Miss Shropshire shop early on a Saturday morning. I had been scratching my head on the way to the shop. And she put oil on the back of her head.
Because you can't cross-contaminate. You got to get it out from the comb onto the back of the
Onto the back of the hand. And she put it around my edges and around my ears, all the way around. And about a third of the way through.
Oh my God, I feel it. I feel it.
Exploded.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And she said, did you scratch your head? And I'm thinking, I'm like 11. I was like, yeah. Oh, Lord have mercy. Look, well, I hope it take, because I mean, by the time she took me to the bowl, I was doing the hot, this perm is killing me dance in the chair. I was crying.
You kind of wanted it to stop, but you wanted it to work. So
as I got older, I had the experience of wanting it to stop and wanting it to work. But this was my maiden voyage. I just wanted it to stop. I had no context to know that if she took it out too soon, it wouldn't.
I see. Got it. So
I'm doing my dance and I'm crying and I'm performative. I have a very big, I'm crying. Oh, it's burning. It's burning.
Oh my God.
Get in the chair. And then it felt like she was stabbing me in the head with this water. Like it was burned so bad. My scalp was burned so bad that the water hurt.
Oh. You know it's going to ooze too.
But about a week later, you couldn't tell me nothing. Like once my head wasn't tender anymore, and I put on my little rollers and I went out, I was like, oh.
You were like, who this? You're looking in the mirror every 5 seconds.
In the 6th grade too?
Oh my God.
Thus began the journey with the creamy crack.
How long was that journey?
I permed my hair from 11 to 27.
Wow.
I stopped perming my hair in 1994.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And I had all of the styles from the snatchback to the asymmetrical bob to the pixie cut to just like long float, whatever. I never did a jerry curl and I never like I did braids, but I never did like a full sew-in or anything like that. But I had a lot of versatility because my hair permed well. Like once I found my rhythm, my hair permed well.
I can't even imagine you with a perm. And I've seen pictures of you with
a blowout.
But that's not what a perm looks like. It's mine, lifeless. I mean, it does, you can do stuff to it. You can get all of the variety. I get that, but it looks so much different than if you have natural hair and you blow it out than if you got a perm. By the way, can we introduce our...
Sure. It's kind of, mine's kind of melted. So I was going to do bourbon, but I realized I don't have any bourbon. So this is sweet tea with Grand Marnier and a little bit of elderflower liqueur. But we've been trying to get on this live, so now my ice is... So I'm gonna take a sip before it gets too watered down.
And mine is tequila. It's my favorite, straight no chaser. And I have a neighbor who loves this as much as I do. And I knew that this is añejo.
Oh, yay. Yum.
Okay. And we recently celebrated the Kamala, they're Indian. So Kamala's vice presidency kind of touched us both. So we celebrated, and I knew, because I drank quite a bit, and I knew that I could still walk across the grass and not, get tipsy or anything. We're on a hill. So I'm like, I want the exact same kind so I could have some during this conversation and know that I won't start slurring my words. So
cheers.
Ching ching. Love you. Because we grown.
Fully.
All right.
Fully.
So I love that story, the all of the kind of tributaries from that story. It's a lot. So I was born in Jamaica. I moved to America when I was about 9. So I've spent most of my years here, but of course, every summer going back to Jamaica and those types of things. And the other thing that I find amazing is the sameness of our stories, no matter where we are. It's just...
Isn't that amazing? It's the Blackness.
It's the completely. Yes. And even if our, we do different things to our hair, or there are just some things that are the same. You go to the hairdresser, or you go to that person and you sit, you're sitting basically between their legs and getting your hair done. You've got the straightening comb. You guys call it a hot comb. In Jamaica, we call it a straightening comb.
We toggle. Some people call it a hot comb. Some people call it a straightening comb. So we toggle.
Right. And then as I was kind of exploring kind of why this need for talking about our hair was so heavy on me, I thought about some of the very sad and awful stories that happened around my hair. And I was wondering if you had any of those stories as well.
So, I'm curious now about the sad and awful for you, because I'm trying to.
Sure. So the one that comes to mind, because it was the most kind of invasive for me, is when I was in my 20s, I wore braids to work, and they told me I had to take them out or not come back. And I went back with my braids the next day, and I got fired. And the insult to that injury is that they told me that it was Bo Derek's hair and what's the word? The fact that it was not a professional hair, because her hair was braided. She was running on the beach. You guys may not know, but there was a movie named 10, and Bo Derek.
Are you talking about our viewers?
Our viewers may not know.
Oh, okay. All right, viewers, get your life together. Go ahead. Because I'm like, because it's so, oof. Go ahead.
10 being the most beautiful woman, this white woman, Bo Derek. And she had braids, if you remember, Cicely Tyson, I think, was the iconic
That's right.
braids with gorgeous beads, almost like Stevie Wonder beads in her hair.
Or Patrice Rushen.
Or Patrice Rushen,
Or
exactly.
Peaches from Peaches and Herb.
Exactly, right. And what's the one? Anyway, I'm trying to remember. So that was her standard for deciding that my hair was not professional, because Bo Derek wore it in that casual way. It could not be something that was appropriate for the workplace. And I talk about in the video that I'm asking everyone to look at, that even though I sued them and I won the lawsuit, it was really painful. It was really, it became one of those suppressed memories. But I realized that it did dictate for the next few years, probably decades, how I did my hair and how concerned I was about fitting in, and until I pushed back, because I went from a relaxer to locks. But I had to time it for what role, what company I was in that would be okay with it. So all of these decisions about where you work and, around our hair, I mean, it's absurd, but that is the state of things, so that was one of my very painful stories. I have other ones, but that was the one where I felt the most imposed on.
Yeah. I come to think of it, like, I didn't have very many painful stories. I just had always an awareness that on my dad's side of the family, there are 18 grandkids.
Wow.
My dad was the oldest of 6.
Okay.
And there were 16 granddaughters, and 2 grandsons.
Wow.
So you can imagine all the hair doing that took place.
Right.
And there were 3 or 4 of us that had what we would call sick hair. Like everybody had a lot of hair, but then they were like, me, my cousin Beverly, my cousin Debbie were like always like the last ones, like waiting. And we have varying degrees of curls in our family, from very, very fine to very, very thick and coarse. Right. So we'd be the last ones, everybody else be gone. And you'd be like, they look like they're having a good time. And then, my mom or my aunt would be like, you are not to sweat your hair out. Like, I just got it. Like, I want it. You'd be like, I'm a kid. And then I would, whatever. But that didn't feel painful. It just felt like I had an awareness that my hair was a lot to manage for anybody. But when I started to lock my hair, so it's one thing to go from a relaxer to a natural. So I did this whole gradual, I didn't do a big chop, and big chop wasn't language that we used then. It was like, I'm not gonna wear perm anymore. And my girlfriend Valerie was doing my hair at the time, and my hair was here. And she said, we're just gonna cut 2 inches every time you come. And because as the relaxer was growing out, it just got closer and closer and closer and closer. And then when it got really short and I had like a high kind of top situation, then she got me cleaned up. And then I went to the barbershop and I said, I would like for you to edge me up. And they were like, oh.
So about what year is that?
That was 94. That was 94. And then I started wearing like a close cut. I started locking my hair in 97.
Okay.
That was confusing to the people in my family. They were like, okay, I kind of like this shortcut because it was jazzy and you were doing your thing. You go to the barbershop, it was sharp. My dad was horrified. He didn't like anything about me cutting my hair off. He was like, my dad was an old country man. He was like, hair's your crown and glory. I cannot believe you just cut all your hair off. And when I started growing the locks, both my parents, who were divorced at the time, were like, what's happening on top of your head?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Like, it was also a time of like your consciousness comes online, I think, in generational moments. And I feel like I had a a consciousness raising when I was in college. And then I had another consciousness raising as a single mom. And this was like my second, like, ratchet up in terms of my consciousness around myself and my Blackness and my spirituality and community and politics, everything. And my accoutrement reflected that. So I'm growing these locks. And you know how when you first growing them, before they drop, they're just kind of there.
Oh, yep. Yep.
I was also wearing a lot of thrift store clothes.
Okay. The whole look, you just went all in.
One time my mama said, "You look homeless."
Oh, Lord, no.
I said, "Oh, I do not look homeless." She said, "What is going on with your hair?" I said, "I'm locking my hair." She said, "Well, does it have to do that?" I said, "Well, it's a process." And she was like, "Okay." I said, "And she said, none of your clothes fit.
Right.
Everything is like baggy-ish."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I paid $2 for these pants and $3 for this jacket." She said, "You look like you paid." So my parents' confusion around what was going on with me, and also feeling like I was not showing up in a way that was good for my kid either. It was like, you can't have people judging you the way you look crazy. You show up at the school, they're gonna judge you. You're already a single mom. Come on, get it together. So that had twinges. They weren't mean about it, but it was obvious that they were just like, I don't, what are
Not
you
the best,
doing?
not the best decision.
What are you doing? Now, I do remember one conversation we had with some family friends. And they said, "Now, what is it that you're doing with your hair now?" These are older Black folk. You know, our parents were born in the 1930s.
Okay.
And like, they were Depression era children, you know, and their peers were too. And this family friend said to me, "If you came to me for a job, I would not hire you."
Oh no! Wow.
And I said, "Well, thankful that I'm not going to come to you for a job."
Wow. Yeah.
And she was like, and I also was working for a nonprofit at the time, and they were like, "You're working for a nonprofit that is unstable. You're going to be broke any minute.
Right.
And you are walking around here with clothes from thrift stores, and you're growing out locks, and you also stopped going to church. What? And now you say you kind of sort of a vegetarian. What is going on with you?"
Right. So that reminds me of. So you've talked about just this hair thing. For me, workplace. You mentioned parenting. You mentioned the whole idea of fitting in. That speaks to me of the pressures that are on us. Yet another pressure that is on us as Black women around our hair decisions. Like, so many people have a part. I remember when I did my first big chop was my freshman year in college. I went to an Ivy League school. There were 400 Black people on campus out of 8,000. And I decided that I was going to cut my hair. I wanted to stand out even more.
Did you cut it yourself?
I did. It was one of those, you know, you braid it and you just cut the, I didn't say it looked that good, but it was.
You said, I didn't say it looked good. I just said I cut it.
My down. It's all right. It'll be all right. So I remember I didn't tell my mother, and my mother was born in 1925, but not 1925 America, 1925 Cuba, and then Jamaica. So that's like 100 years back.
Okay? So here's the funny thing. We have a common story. My son, my oldest son, his dad's family is from Jamaica. Last name is Nimhard.
Yep. Know
and
that
his
name.
great-grandmother was born in Jamaica and moved to Cuba when she was 4.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys know, but just Cuba is a very large island. It's here, and Jamaica is right under here. So
I've been to Cuba twice.
Yeah. So the what is that? east side of Cuba,
Mhm.
rest right due north of
Yes.
Jamaica.
Yep.
So there is a Jamaican diaspora in Cuba.
Yep.
And so it sounds like your family was a part of that. So is my family.
That's something.
Um, but hair is a thing, hair is a thing. You don't, if God gifted you with hair, how dare you cut it?
How dare
How
you?
dare you cut it? So I remember coming home that first trip after I cut my hair, and I was like ready, like I was like girded to, you know, hear what my mother had to say, very strong personality. And this is how my mom blessed me. She didn't say anything.
Mm.
And it wasn't a kind of, I'm not going to speak to you type of thing. It was like a nod. I know you're not my little girl anymore. I know
Mm.
that you are. And because I heard her talking to her brother, my uncle,
Mm.
um, Emma dear, she cut off her hair, but she look all right. But I don't know why she cut off her hair. I guess people who have hair can cut them hair, but me not cut my hair. Okay. So this was her way
Right.
translating, translated. She cut her hair. I don't know why, but it's her hair. Let her do. That to me meant everything. I didn't care what
God, it was
anyone
a
else
nod
said.
of adulthood.
Absolutely, it was just her nod to say, yeah, you've paid your dues. You can do this.
Ah, isn't that something?
So my lock stuff came much after that. Uh, I was pregnant with my third child, so I was in my late 30s
Mhm.
when I started to lock my hair.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so I just I wanted to also say that every time that I kind of bring up this topic about um, the hair stories, the stories that are embedded, one of the ways that helped me to see them is when I was looking at pictures.
Mm.
And I saw all the different hairstyles that I had. Um, and it just started to, why did I have that hairstyle? What was going on at that time? It's something that I want to encourage you all to do, is just see what comes up as you look at your pictures, what was going on. I know for me, my relaxed days, a lot of that was fitting in. A lot of that was acceptance and assimilating. Um, and you know, it's always useful to be able to kind of look at those types of things to maybe understand how you have evolved, how you want to evolve. Because when I realized that I was doing that, that's when I decided to grow locks, because I wanted to do the absolute opposite of that.
Yeah.
I wanted people to be clear about who I was. They could ask me whatever they want to ask me, but I wanted them to know, yep, that's a Black woman.
Yeah.
There's no ambiguity. And so but that came a lot later. I was scarred from that thing that happened in my 20s.
20s.
I really was. So I'm looking at the time, it's a little after 8, and I know we started late, but I just want to kind of be respectful of your time and the time of the people watching.
Sure.
Um,
Let me check and see. It looks like, hold on, I'm going to mute myself because
okay,
I want to hear. I want to see how many people we
and I'll
have
just take a sip.
on Facebook real quick. And you take a sip. I'm going to check on our Facebook folk. Do you have any questions? I'm coming. I'm coming. Here I come.
While Omi does that, I want to remind folks that the page on Facebook is called the Hair Stories Project, and that's where this um, this undertaking, this passion project is going to live when we're not going live. I'm going to try to host interviews every month. Um, I already have about 3 lined up, very, very exciting. Even people who I thought did not have a hair story, how dare I think that a Black woman doesn't have a hair story? At least one, maybe 10. So please like that page or follow that page. And as those are scheduled, you will get your notifications about that. So yeah. Any
I don't know
questions?
if we had any questions, but I did drop in the comments
Mhm.
a link to the Hair Stories Project. So if
Awesome.
people look in the comments and see my comments,
Right.
there's a link for you to be able to find the Hair Stories Project. And I will also go back in and drop a link to whatever we need. And the video, the intro video, I'll upload that to the page too.
Awesome.
So
Thank
that
you.
way folks can see. Listen, this is what we do. This is what we do. We
Yes.
figured this out together.
And of course, Omi's so calm, and I'm just feeding into that calm. I would not let myself ratchet up like I usually do. Also, I want to encourage people, if you want to share some of your hair stories, you don't have to be interviewed if you don't want to, but just let me know when you subscribe. There will be links in the community on how you can subscribe. When you subscribe, I ask you if you want to submit a story, and then we'll follow up with you with instructions on how to do that. Because there's some, we want to make sure that if it's a recording, it's done in a quality that we can, use and things like that. But again, this is co-creating that we're doing here. This isn't my stuff. This isn't Omi stuff. It's our
That's
stuff,
right.
the collective. And if I could be so bold to say, it's the world stuff, because they need to know about us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we are vital. We are an important part of the success of our planet. And I think that it's important that the things that are important to Black women,
Mm-hmm.
that people are aware of them and they understand why. And agree or not agree, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's really making sure that that we're taking up space, that our stuff, our needs take up space. And so yeah, no one is asking questions. If no one is asking
It
questions, we
doesn't
can.
look like anyone's asking. I'm gonna mute myself one more time and go see
Okay.
if there are any questions.
And I'm gonna look to see if there are people living in the where we were planned to be, and see if there are any questions coming up here.
Nope, no questions. But I see that you dropped Rhythm Wigs was dropped in the comment section too.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give you an opportunity, Omi. I know we're in your page right now, but I do want you to please tell people how they can contact you, anything that you want to share with us about your amazing work. Please do that now so that when this goes out into the world,
I
people
will.
will
I
have it.
do want to say one thing. Like, there are things that I do that feel like soul work.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm doing soul work, I feel like the universe ear hustles
Yeah, yeah.
and you're like, what she say? She want to do what?
I'll take that.
Oh, okay, okay. And so then people will come into out of my peripheral vision
Yeah,
into plain view.
yeah.
And I feel like that's what happened with us, where it's like,
Absolutely.
what you doing?
Mm.
And then when you reached out and said, listen, I'm getting ready to do this thing, and it's called the hair story. My initial reaction was what? What?
Yes, exactly.
So there, so
Absolutely.
I know that the work that I do with the Black Girl's Guide to Surviving Menopause is kindred with many things that ex- creates a sacred space for the fullness of who we are as
Absolutely.
Black women.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciative of that. So
Mhm.
we are coming to the end of season 2 in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm grateful that we figured out how to do the podcast remotely and continue to bring stories, and it's been really good. And it's ironic that it's been really good.
Yeah.
And so we have a episode that's out right now with Ignacio Rivera.
I saw that.
Ignacio is a genderqueer, trans, non-binary person who does healing justice work, does work around pleasure and sexuality, works with people who've experienced sexual trauma to help them access healing. And also to reclaim pleasure and access to pleasure. And so that episode is live now. And I'm really excited about that. And then our last episode will be dropping next week. And that's a twofer. Last year, this time, I was where we're talking right now, we were in Kenya.
Wow.
Me and Maya Hunter, who's the co-director of Spirit House, a Spirit House tribe member with me, we traveled to Kenya to present at a healing justice conference called the Feminist Republic. And while I was there, when I was like, I really want to figure out how Black women in the diaspora are experiencing aging and menopause, and what are the conversations they would like to have, and what are the conversations that they can't have, and how do we hold space? And so this whole year has been this uptick to that. And I connected with this sister named Karen Arthur, who lives in the UK. She has a podcast called Menopause Whilst Black.
Love it.
Very British, whilst Black. And Karen's awesome. Karen is a fellow Aries. I'm an Aries. We immediately were like, and she's also a seamstress and a dancer and an artist. She has a thing called Where You're Happy. And so we just connected the same way you and I did. And I was like, Karen, I love what you're doing. And so I was one of her first hosts on her podcast.
Look at that.
Right. And then I connected with this sister named Monica Odom, who lives in Germany. And we struck up a relationship. So long story short, I interviewed Karen and Monica for my last episode of this season to really help people understand, like, our Blackness is so complex and so varied and so beautiful, and everybody has a unique story, and there are also some things that like bind us together. So this episode coming out next week is called Sisters of the Yam. And we just had a fantastic conversation.
Tell us a little bit more about that title.
Sisters of the Yam is a book that I read by Bell Hooks years ago. Is it 20 years old at this point? It's likely 20 years old. It's a book by Bell Hooks, who is an awesome feminist, Black feminist writer. And it's about our relationships as Black women in the diaspora, right? And so when you think about yams, you know, here in the United States, we say, oh, we're eating candied yams, or what we're really eating are sweet potatoes.
Exactly, right? Yes.
So Karen's people are from Barbados. So they eat yams. And Monica's father, she's biracial. Her mother's German. Her father was from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Our father's people eat yam. So we were like, there's ways in which, whether we called it yam because it's actually yam, or we called it yam because it's sweet potato, like there's a way in which we are connected at the root. And, you know, yams are root food. It's a root food.
Survival food.
Survival food, hearty food. And this is what that conversation was. It was a hearty conversation. It was a deep rooted conversation. And I think folks are gonna enjoy it. And then the last thing I would say is that some people knew that I was putting together my first zine publication.
I ordered my too. I'm so excited.
I can't wait for you to get it. I can't wait for you guys to take a picture and send it to me. So it's called Messages from the Menopausal Multiverse. There are going to be more zines coming. And it's just been this really powerful intergalactic journey to remind us of what we can tap into, the tools we need for this moment, right? The things we need to be reminded of based on the elements. And it's been great. The reception's been awesome, and people have been like extremely supportive. And that was a huge learning curve for me. 53-year-old, gonna create a zine, never done it before, had so many people helping me. I give thanks for my son so much. Che was just like, Ma.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. And I was like, I can't. He was like, yes, you can. Push the button, mama. I was like, but what if it doesn't work? He's like, then we'll figure it out.
That's it.
Just so simple.
Just jump. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
jump. Just jump, mama. Just jump. And when I jumped, he said, look at you. Look at you.
Wow.
He said, your path, no one's path is ever set.
Yeah.
No one's path is ever set. You can choose to do something different. I was like, you're right.
That what you just said is a part of this picture that I try to paint for myself and for my children, that, you know, the future is not over there waiting for us to walk into.
Right.
It's something that we create.
We create it.
We decide what's going to be out there.
That's right.
You know, so to not do what you need to do, it means it won't show up. It won't be there. When
constructed. It has to be constructed. It has to be conjured. It has to manifest.
Yes. Yes.
You gotta stick your fingers in there.
Absolutely. Listen, about the zine, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I just can't wait to touch it, because that's going to be another part of the experience, the tactile part of the experience. As with everything that I've seen you do, it's never just one-dimensional, right? There's always these layers of yummy in the work that you do, and that's why I'm so excited. I bought one for my firstborn. They're gonna love it. I know that, because they're into graphic novels, as I told you. So I want to encourage everyone to go check it out. Even the way that it's presented on your website, it just makes you want to jump in, because there's movement and all this kind of stuff. Because you're going,
like, you know, when you're menopausal and you can't sleep, creative time. And I woke up like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I should do animation. And I'm looking at my cat, and my cat's like, you should do animation. I'm like, I should do animation. I'm gonna do. I gotta do animation. I'm a hire an animator.
I'm so glad you said yes. I can't wait. Just want to encourage people to check that out and get it. Don't just think about it. Omi, thank you so much. Thank you for. You know who you are to me. You know who you are. I don't keep it secret. Your energy is just restorative for me, and I know it's not just me, but I want to. You're mine. So I want to thank you again for being here, for getting this, you know, out there in this live world. Thanks to your folks for allowing me in to your page, and you know, this is just the beginning. So I thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thanks everybody for checking us out. We appreciate y'all, and you will be able to watch this video later or share it with your folks. Angela will be able to share it on her page. She'll be able to share it in the event. She'll be able to share it on the hair stories. So it's available, and I'm glad I was able to do this. It's my pleasure, and I'm going to see if I can disconnect us from Facebook. And I hope everybody has a good night.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
And we'll be talking to you soon. Bye. Et voila. Et voila. Look at that. See? There we go.
Thank you so much.
Honey, you're so welcome.
This was so good.
You are so welcome, darling. You are so welcome.